Hi everybody. This week I'm introducing something I refer to as awarenesses to apply for books for children. And if you type in the word awarenesses into any word processor, you can get an underline on it. It's kind of a it's a coinage. It's not really an official word, but what I'm trying to get at with these, there are certain things that we can be conscious of when we begin to try to analyze how a book for a child does what it does, and also assess how well it does what it does. So that's where the awarenesses I've picked up somewhere along the line themselves, and the word came along with them, but I think it works very well with these. What we'll be doing with these for the next week or two is using them to reflect on both the picture book authors we'll be looking at this week and next week, and also Stargirl, the novel we'll be tackling now that we've wrapped up Tuck Everlasting. So just a few words on each of these awarenesses, and you'll find in this packet there is also a worksheet slash handout that you can use as a quick reference to these. The first of these awarenesses, it's important to be conscious of the overall purpose of a book. Oftentimes, and especially I would say picture books, but even books for older children are oftentimes designed with a specific goal in mind. And an example, this week you begin to look at concept books, which are books designed to teach something, a concept to children. Examples of these are alphabet books and counting books. A picture book, for example, which is designed to teach the alphabet, that should be seen as the primary goal of the book, and then we can step back and apply these other awarenesses to asking questions as to how the creator has gone about accomplishing that goal using all the tools at their disposal. Our second awareness is the language as experience. Language is so important in of course, all writing, and in the novels we've seen as well. I think one of the most powerful differences we've seen between The Hobbit and Tuck Everlasting, there are many differences. One of the differences many people have commented on or noticed is the language. The Hobbit uses a style of language which may be a little bit outdated right now, but is very descriptive, very powerful. Tuck's language is also very powerful, very poetic. This is even more important in picture books when we have so few words with which to work. Authors have to choose the language very carefully. Picture books are in some ways like poems. Poem is a condensed form that requires us to think very carefully about everything that goes into it. A picture book is very much the same way. The images of the language are oftentimes very, very vivid. The language itself paints a picture. The illustrator then brings that picture to life. The sound of the language is stimulating. The language has rhythm. The word choice has a weight on the tongue. It's hard to that's a very bad. It's hard to put that into words exactly, but the language has. You know that if you hear something that is well written, read out loud, the language has a force or a power behind it, and you'll recognize that when you hear it. The point of view of narration needs to be effective. Something we noticed in The Hobbit, how Tolkien would occasionally break from the third person to address the reader directly. Well, that's sort of a storytelling technique. Choosing point of view is very important, and one thing we can ask of a book is the point of view reflective of the needs of that book. And finally, our repetition and rhythm used to engage kids. Nursery rhymes are a great example of very popular form that relies very much on repeating certain lines, repeating certain words, and doing it to a very strong rhythm. If you recite the words to This Old Man without singing it, you will still find a very strong rhythm underlying that song. I apologize for that. The child's experience captured in the story. And this again is very important. Even for concept books, kids want to be able to relate, as do adults, want to be able to relate to what they see. You know, it's a fact that advertisers, when they choose images to sell their products, will try to choose an image oftentimes that represents us as we see ourselves. So if we are looking at a family sitting in front of a TV set, and the TV set is a thing that's being sold. What that family looks like will vary depending on where that ad is published. Um, so oftentimes the family is selected to show sort of the ideal image of what the audience would like to see themselves as. There we go. Now we can move on. The book inviting engagement and participation. Oftentimes, picture books especially will invite children to be involved with the text, to repeat things, to answer questions. And all of these, again, can break that third wall and reach out and get the child involved with the concept that's being taught by that book. Novels can do the same thing, although they do so in a far less direct way. But look for ways when you read a novel that the author seems to be trying to reach out and engage the emotions of the reader. So, for example, a powerfully described scene doesn't quite invite participation in the way that a picture book will invite participation, but it will draw the reader into the text. Finally, are the child's needs met by the book? Well, not quite finally, but next, are the child's needs met by the book? And by needs, we're looking at just not a reflection of what the child sees as him or herself, but also what that child needs. Are the emotional needs of the child met by the book? The intellectual needs, practical needs. Are they being taught a practical skill that they can apply in their lives? And of course, are there informational needs being met? In other words, does the book, when it's teaching its concept in this very concise format of a picture book especially, does it provide enough information for the child to really grasp that idea? Again, that's tricky. If you look at even writing instructions for adults, choosing what to include and what to leave out for a specific audience is challenging. More so for kids, and even more so when you're working with a form that is as focused as a picture book. And this is finally, how does the illustration work with the story or with the text that is presenting this concept? Uniqueness is very important because what you'll notice sometimes if you look at our picture book creators, especially the ones that we've been exploring in this course so far, these are artists. They aren't just people who are drawing pictures to make a book, to put on a shelf, to sell. And you will see, I don't want to be cynical about this, but like I would say books that are based on cartoon characters, like Dora the Explorer books or Mickey Mouse books, you will not find the unique flavor and quality of images that you find in the books of the creators that we've looked at. You can look at a book by Eric Carle. We haven't looked at him yet, but we will. You can look at a book by Eric Carle, and you know it's an Eric Carle book. The author is this week. Tana Holborn has a very distinctive style, the way she uses photography. So at any rate, Donald Cruz is a very distinctive style. They all have, when you see the book, there's something unique about it, but also, is it appropriate to the story? And I will say that sometimes the very artistic approaches to picture books do sometimes, I think, draw attention away from what's being taught, potentially. That's a risk, at least. But this is the last of those awarenesses. What I want you to be able to do, and this week's exercise will ask you to do this, is apply these to how you look at and how you assess and how you understand the books that we are reading. So that's that.